Welcome to the Lazy CEO Podcast, where Jim Schleckser, author of Great CEOs Are Lazy and founder of the CEO Project, features compelling experts and topics for CEOs of mid to large-size companies. Now, let's get started with the show.
Welcome, everybody, to another Lazy CEO podcast. This is Jim Schleckser. I am your host, and I am the founder of the CEO Project and your host. That doesn't matter. Anyway, welcome back. Well, we've got a fascinating guest today, and if you don't believe in the power of influencers and viral video, you will when we're done with you today. Today, my guest is Onye Odenukwe, and he is the CEO of Glow Tanning Centers. So, quick story on how we met. Randomly, he was interviewed by another influencer. He's a highly successful business guy. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And they asked him his recommendations for success. And he mentioned my first book, which is Great CEOs Are Lazy. Sales started going crazy as a result of literally one viral video. And so we reached out and got in touch and thought it'd be very interesting to talk together about both his business, his philosophy, and sort of the influencer brand that he's built and is building. So, yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate
you coming. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about Glow Tanning Centers. I mean, I think that's the main business that you run, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into that business.
Yeah. So Glow Tanning is a national sun spa franchise. We have 75 plus locations in 13 states. We're based in Oklahoma City. I live in Dallas, but we have about 17 locations in the DFW market. So we're just a little different than like a typical tanning salon. That's why we say we're a sun spa. So we have spa services, spray tanning, and also tanning. So we are a franchise. I do also own, a lot of locations as well. And I think that's the gist of it.
So how'd you decide on that business? I mean, that's very retail, very customer intimate in terms of, how did you decide that was the business for you? What got you in that business in the first place?
Yeah, so it's very random. I'm pretty impulsive, but honestly, the old, obviously, the older you get, the less impulsive you are. I think that's just across the board, right? But I probably was more impulsive than most, even at a younger age. So I started off, I was a bodybuilder in college. I went to University of Arkansas. Originally from Boston, but I was a bodybuilder in college, and so my first business was actually a supplement store. I convinced this lady to owner's finance to me because obviously I had no money, and did a really good job in that supplement store. At the time, I was competing as like Mr. Arkansas. I ended up winning a couple times. So because of that, that was like the beginning of the influencer type marketing, because I was Mr. Arkansas. Then the Mr. O's Nutrition, which was the name of the supplement store, did really well because of that. So I looked for location number 2. I got that first location when I was 21. Location number 2, I started looking for when I was 21, turning 22. I ended up signing a lease for a location that was across the street from the University of Arkansas. The space was too large for a supplement store, so I needed to add something else to that space. And at the time, I was thinking potentially maybe, a fitness studio, something like that, because I was also a personal trainer previous. And I just didn't like the personal training aspect because you're stuck. You're trading time for money. And even at that time, I knew I didn't want to do that. So just kind of was thinking randomly of what another idea would be. And I was like, a tanning salon, because, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas is like 95% white. It's where Walmart corporate is. It's where Tyson Chicken corporate is. It has the University of Arkansas, and a lot of the people that go to school there are actually from Dallas, from Texas, because University of Oklahoma, University of Arkansas offer in-state tuition to Texas residents. So most of those girls that I knew from college, you would always comment that, the tanning was trash up here compared to back home in Dallas. So I was like, this might be a good market. I went to a local salon, and I asked a few questions naively. The owner was there. I asked a few questions, and they're probably just looking like, "Who's this guy?" Whatever. And
Mhm.
I just decided that day I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll open a tanning salon," not knowing anything,
Mm.
and just kind of did it, and randomly, like created the logo on like Vistaprint, and just went with it, and it ended up taking off, and sold the supplement store, and then grew Glow.
Wow. And wow, that's fascinating. And so why did you sell supplements? Is tanning that much better a business?
Absolutely.
Huh?
Um, it's not, it is and it's not. For me it is. For most people it's not. And tanning and restaurants are the number one defaulters of SBA loans,
Yep.
historically. So back in the day, you guys are old enough to know that there's a tanning salon on every corner, 20 years ago.
There
And
was.
yeah, now when somebody says, okay, well, how do you make money? Or even if you look at the comments from the viral video where I mentioned Great CEO's lazy, that video had almost 30 million views. And I've read the comments a few times, and a lot of people are like, there's no way that he's making money from tanning, right?
Mm.
Because no one tans anymore, right? Which is we don't care. I prefer people to think that, because I don't want a bunch of tanning salons opening up competition. But really what it is that the market never actually decreased, at least since I've been in it. I think it decreased from, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. But I got into tanning. I signed my lease in 2009, opened my first store February 2010. At that point, tanning was what tanning is. And since then, tanning has not decreased. It's the market has consolidated.
Yeah.
So, I've done probably 100 buyouts. The largest salon chain in the country, which is Palm Beach Tan, they've probably bought out 1,000 salons,
Wow.
maybe more, since I've been in the industry. So it's just a consolidating market, where there's only like a few players. And then on top of that, I mean, we're the fifth largest chain. By the end of next year, we'll be the third largest chain. Within 5 years, I know we'll be the second largest. And you know, the biggest thing is, if you decided today, I mean, you guys probably could, but the average person decided today, hey, I want to open a salon, that's $600,000.
Yep.
That's come from Germany. They're 40, $50,000 beds. Like, it's like buying a Mercedes, right?
Mhm.
So, and the SBA is not going to give you a loan if you don't already have prior history of running successful salons, or are part of a franchise that has historical data to show that they're actually, good at it. So for us, we're insulated in the fact that no one can get into our market because they don't have the money.
Right.
You have millions of dollars sitting around, and you tell, your uncle that's rich, hey, I want to open tanning salons, give me 600,000. They're going to think you're smoking crack.
Yep.
So there's no, there, we have very limited competition coming into the market, and then it's a market that's consolidating. So we're probably making money because of a lack of competition, more than it is that the market's just an amazing market. But then we also have, gyms like Planet Fitness, which are basically tanning salons. Planet Fitness is the largest tanning salon in the country. You
Hmm.
know, they, they have 6, 7, 8 beds at their stores. They're unregulated. They don't pay the tan tax that was part of the ACA.
Hmm.
So, but most of those guys that own Planet Fitness, I know a lot of them. The biggest Planet Fitness franchisees are all tanning guys. So they're
Ah,
all guys that are in the tanning industry. And now, kind of one person went into Planet Fitness, and then they told their buddies about it. So now all the biggest franchisees of Planet Fitness are actually former tanning salon owners, or currently still tanning salon owners, but they're more focused on Planet Fitness. And then also the same thing with Crunch Fitness, and Crunch Fitness has the same model, but with higher end beds,
yep.
where it's all former tanning salon guys that basically shifted into fitness and included the tanning aspect in it. So tanning's not going anywhere. People still tan, and even if they don't tan, they are at least spray tanning, which
Right.
is business and actually a more profitable service than actual tanning for us.
Wow. It reminds me, I own a CrossFit gym, and same thing. Any exercise modality goes through a peak as it gets a little fattish and then comes down, but then it settles into its number, and it's just not really going to go. It might grow slowly off of that number. And I think CrossFit's gone through that evolution. Sounds like tanning has, right? It sort of did a peak.
And,
Okay, now
and,
it's going to
and,
stick
and
around here because we got a dedicated core we're working with.
Yep. And as CrossFit starts to this CrossFit was a super fad, like a really,
Yeah.
really good, almost, I feel like the only fad that was probably a larger fad business wise than CrossFit was probably like Froyo, right?
Why, thank you. Yeah. The froyo of exercise.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, as CrossFit starts to consolidate, then your store becomes more profitable and gets more revenue because now instead of having 5 CrossFit gyms within 50 miles, there's one,
Yeah.
right? So if somebody wants to come, they might even lose between the five. Let's say each gym has 500 members. So there's 25 total 100 members between the five. It consolidates down to one, and you lose a ton of the members, but you now have 1,000 members, right? So now you're twice as profitable, even though they lost a bunch of members, but you're the only game in town. So that's kind of how tanning is.
Yep.
So while less people do tan, there's 5 times less competition. So the people that are left are profitable.
So how many store locations do you have now?
76. If you
And is
include the
that
one,
mostly through takeover, through acquisition? You've done that?
yes, yes, mostly through acquisition. I've probably built 50 locations, but I build locations like I buy a lot of commercial real estate strips, and then I will build them out and then move a location. And a lot of the acquisitions we do, I actually will buy. Like I bought a chain in 2020 for about 4 million. That was our second biggest competitor. Oklahoma was 14 locations. Out of the 14 locations, I kept one, two, three, four. I kept 4 locations. So
Wow.
so basically I consolidated the rest into locations that were near us.
Got it.
So
Interesting. So, that's a pretty big scope, 70 store managers, 70 locations. How do you manage that level of complexity? I mean, that's a pretty big leadership job. How do you do it?
yeah, so obviously huge on delegation, but delegating correctly. I actually just completed filming a course on how to become a master delegator,
Oh,
and just on delegating correctly, and there's some keys to it. But really, I am a micromanager until I can trust that somebody can do the job.
yep.
And a lot of times people think the delegation is just saying, "Hey, Sharon, do this." Right?
Yeah.
And that's just not what delegation is, right? So if I was trying to delegate to her to run this podcast, then I would literally be doing what you're doing right now, which is, hey, you're on the podcast with me. I'm doing it. After a couple times of doing it, she says she feels comfortable. Now she's doing it. I'm watching. After a couple times of watching and giving good feedback, then I can allow her to do it on her own. So for me, I believe in layers. So, and I also preach to my staff, even the lower level staff that most people think um, is extremely difficult for them to understand. Everyone needs to be replaceable. And when you make yourself replaceable, you actually move up. So I
Yep.
tell them I've never seen anybody who has replaced themselves and we got rid of them. Like,
Yep.
you're getting, by replacing yourself, you're actually, knowledge is power. So if you're able to replace yourself, then we can move you to the next position. And then if something happens, we can always push you back to fill that position because you know how to do it and you know how to replace yourself in that position. And a lot of times with managers, they believe, I don't even call them managers, I call them leaders. So with leaders, or managers, they believe that, if somebody else is doing well, then that is a threat to my leadership. And for us, I've built you know a system where you have a consultant, then you have a senior spa consultant, then you have an assistant manager, you have a manager, you have an area manager, you have a district manager, and then the next level after that is ownership. So
Right.
we have an owners program where we allow anybody who's worked for us for 3 years and has moved their way up. We'll find you an investor because we have a ton of people that want to invest in the glow, and we'll basically get you a store, and that investor will put all the money up, and you run the store, and you're a 50-50 partner in that store.
Mm.
Neither person takes a dollar out of the store outside of the owner's salary or the operator's salary until the store is completely debt free.
Right.
And that's a program that we have, and that is a retention tool, but also a tool that allows the staff to want to see the person under them move up, right? So rather than keeping people stagnant, so the leadership within itself, it's like, I have so many, have so many layers of leadership that if one person falls out, the manager falls out, we have an assistant manager under them, and we have a area leader above them. So both gaps are filled. The area leader can step down, the assistant manager can step up. The assistant manager replaces themselves as the assistant. The area manager makes sure that the assistant manager is ready for actual leadership. So there's never a gap in leadership. Doesn't matter. 5 people can quit today. It's easy to fill the positions. So
Nice.
layering is really the biggest thing.
You almost built a Domino's model there, right? Because one of the big things about working at Domino's is the path to ownership. And a lot of the Domino's owners used to drive, deliver pizzas, right? That's how they started. Now they own 5, 10, 20 franchises. Feels like you'll end up at that place over a period of time.
Yeah, I did not even know that.
Yeah, take a look at them. I think maybe there's something to learn.
I have heard that I think I've seen the commercials where it's like, I used to work in Domino's and now I'm an owner.
Yep.
I didn't know that was a thing. I knew about the Chick-fil-A model.
Yep.
But I never knew about the Domino's model. But yes, some of the owners did not like it when, because obviously I lead the owners meeting and all that. I had to explain to them, hey, this is the benefit. And at the end of the day, if the person works for you, you can be their investor, right? Yeah. And then also on top of that, they have to replace themselves. So if Megan is an amazing leader and you're scared to lose Megan cannot move to ownership until she's replaced herself. And replacing herself doesn't mean that we have any drop off in actual productivity. So when somebody is, we just had somebody graduate to the owners program a couple of weeks ago. We have another 2 people graduating here soon. And what I'll do is when they feel like they've replaced themselves, then I'll take them out of their stores and ship them to other stores that are opening, that need training, or stores that are struggling that need some type of assistance. And the reason why is to allow the stores that they used to manage to be there without them.
Yep.
To see do they truly actually replace themselves, or do they just say that they replace themselves, and when they leave, then there's a big drop off?
No, right? This is pulling off the training wheels and let's see if you can ride, right? Yeah, I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah, very cool. Now, talk to us about your social media presence, because you've turned that into a big thing. Does that? How did you get? I obviously started with the Mr. Arkansas, and you continued to leverage it. How did you get to where you are, and does it positively impact your business? How do you see it showing up in your business?
Yeah, so I've always understood the power of social media. It's very weird because I'll tell you my internal thoughts. So I actually think social media is the devil, personally.
Whoa.
But I also understand, it's almost like one of those things where somebody says like you're able to harness a certain type of power and you can use it for good or for bad,
yep.
right?
Yep.
My CVO is real big into like personality tests and all this. When she started working with me about 5.5 years ago, she had me take all these tests. And it's like DI, all this stuff. I'm not into that stuff, but one of the things that stuck with me on one of the tests, she was like, "Hey, you're a master manipulator for the good." I was like, okay, well, it's like a oxymoron, whatever. But I embraced it. And basically that, you can manipulate people to do positive things, like you can get the most out of them, right? That's the way I took it. And I embraced that because I'm very big on using people's positive qualities and leaning into that, and things that you're not so good at, we just leave that alone. Compared to a lot of times people are like, okay, you're not good at this, let's improve this. I just need you to be proficient at things that we need you to be proficient at. So like, if we're using it at like a very low scale, it's like if we use Google Docs to do things and you're not good at technology, you need to learn how to use Google Docs. But I don't need you to learn how to use PowerPoint when that's not a big part of your job, right?
Right.
So I focus on people's strengths. So me focusing on my own strengths, in that aspect. But sorry, I actually even lost the question.
Social media is the devil, but we started with social media.
Yeah. So what I realized was, even though social media is something that can be positive or negative, and the reason why I said social media is the devil is this. I actually do not pay attention really to almost anybody's social media. If I'm going on social media, I'm going on the explore page, just my personal entertainment, to see funny memes, cool stories, news, things like that. But like on my Instagram, I follow like less than 300 people. And then even out of the 200 something people I follow, I have like 50 of them muted. I just don't unfollow them because I don't want to hurt their feelings. Because I really don't have interest in seeing a bunch of nonsense. Like unless you're like a close friend, family, I really don't have, or really good business content or motivational content that I want to see. I don't I don't have any interest in it. And the reason why is because I'm so focused on what I'm doing to be focused on what somebody else is doing. And in this generation, in this time, what we've allowed is comparison is the theft of joy. And what everybody does is they want to sit around and they want to compare their life to somebody else.
Yeah.
And wonder why they are not in a certain place, or why somebody else was able to achieve something that they feel like they should have achieved. I've never been jealous a day in my life ever of anyone. So a lot of people don't have that trait. So it's like, especially for females in particular, and I have like 600 female employees, it's, when somebody's Instagram or social media is your highlight reel. So they take a picture, they take 20 pictures, they pick one of the 20 pictures, then they edit that picture, and then they post that picture. And then you're comparing yourself to someone who posted an edited, highlighted reel of their
Right.
life. And they're comparing themselves to that person, or that person's on vacation. That vacation was terrible. It was a terrible vacation, whatever. But the person's still going to post the one positive memory they have from that vacation. They're like, oh, this person's always on vacation. They're always doing X, Y, and Z. Or they're comparing their relationship to somebody else's relationship because they're looking on Instagram at what that relationship looks like. So that's the part why I say social media is the devil, because a lot of people have that trait of just, focusing on what you're focusing on and kind of moving that way. But being that people are not like that, you have to be able to harness social media to do what you want it to do, right? So, like with that interview, I've gone viral a few times. That's the most viral one. Um, but the other viral ones, like one was when I bought this watch in at the Rolex dealership in Vegas. That got a couple million views, and that was cool. The problem was that how can I really utilize that
Right.
to do anything, right? I bought my dad a 7 Series BMW for his birthday. That went viral and got like 5 million views.
Nice.
Cool. Like that's cool that and people like that. Um that nice and sweet, gestures, but how can I utilize that to push forward what I want to do? That brings traffic to your page.
Right.
Then what do you do with it? This last one where I mentioned Gracie is lazy, that one was amazing because the what I want to utilize my social media for is business, right?
Yep.
So being that I was talking about business, it resonated with people. They were able to understand very easily what I was trying to say. And then on top of that, giving a tool and not being a gatekeeper. So a lot of people are gatekeepers and they want to say, okay, if you want to learn more, buy my course,
Yeah.
right? And rather than doing that, it's like, hey, this is what I do. This is a book I recommend. And every single day, when I say every single day, I text you yesterday a screenshot of one. Every single day, it's like, I read that book. It changed my life, changed how I do my business. Even random people that I've never even met. Um, there's a girl in Tampa that I know. She was talking to me, and she was like, I told my boss about you, my old boss about you. And he was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. I saw that guy's interview. I bought that book and it changed my whole management style.
Wow.
This
Cool.
guy doesn't even know me, and she doesn't even live where I live, and she just randomly, says that. So it really had an impact, and really what it did was it drew people into my channel and say, okay, that guy sounded like he knew what he's talking about. He gave a recommendation that I was able to actually pick up, and I enjoyed. I want to hear more.
Nice.
So now the question is, what more can I show them? And even through that interview, I never mentioned glow. Not one time did I say the word glow.
Right.
So the entry, right? Because it looks like I'm not trying to sell anything, which I'm not trying to sell anything, but it looks like I'm not trying to sell anything. From that one interview, we had about 2,500 people apply for franchise.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I think
So,
you did more franchises than I did books.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, we're so selective
Yeah.
that out of that 2,500 people, probably picked 5.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Still.
but if we cared about selling franchises, um, we could have probably sold 500.
Yeah, but then you got to worry quality, right? I mean,
Exactly. So that's the biggest thing for us. I'm more concerned with, is the person the right fit? We can pick the right person, and then we grow like very quickly because we're extremely profitable. So, we'll have a franchisee, like our franchisee in Denver. He got his first location 2 years ago. He just finished opening his 8th location.
Wow, nice.
So, and he has another 3 that he's potentially gonna purchase. So that'll be 11 in 2 years. I would rather have one person have 10 locations than have 10 people with 10 locations. That's the personality to deal with all that. So we're very selective on it, but either way, it really kind of put a light on the brand and got a lot of people talking about it, a lot of traffic, a lot of interest in it. And then also on my personal brand, because I've always believed in personal branding, because you always, whatever it is that you're trying to do or you're trying to sell, or just in general. So social media is just a huge, huge, huge tool. Influencers in general, a massive tool that can be utilized. And, people are spending way more time on social media than they are on traditional media, like watching TV, listen to the radio and all that. So that's my story on social media and
Very
kind
cool.
of personal thoughts versus actual reality of how I utilize it.
Love it. Awesome. Well, hey, so kids, the moral of the story is don't compete with Mr. Arkansas. You're going to get your butt kicked. So, so Onya, if people want more of you, where would they find more of your thinking and maybe even if they want to look at Glow, where would they find that?
Yeah. So, my social media is sweatpant_millionaire. And that's my social on TikTok and also Instagram. Available on Instagram, anybody can message me or anything like that. Yeah, that's really it. Main focuses right now obviously is leading Glow, and then also I'm going to start teaching people how easy it is to get into commercial real estate.
Nice. And Onya and I are looking at a project together, so we'll tell you more about that later once we get it cooking. So, well, hey, thanks for joining us on the podcast. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure people are going to get a lot of value out of this conversation. So thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
Cheers. This podcast is brought to you by the CEO Project. At the CEO Project, we work with CEOs to help them grow their business. And our members represent billions of dollars of revenue and profit. And frankly, amongst all of us, we've probably made every mistake in the book, including some you haven't made yet. So if you want to learn from the experience of a bunch of really seasoned CEOs, we're a great place to hang out. In this podcast, what you're going to hear are some of those ideas, concepts, and things that are just going to help you on your journey. If you want to find out more, reach out to us at theceoproject.com, or you can contact me personally at jim@theceoproject.com. Happy listening.
Thanks for listening to the Lazy CEO podcast. We'll see you next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check out our website, www.theceoproject.com.